to the story as well. Do you have an initial reaction to hearing that the president and first lady have tested positive for coronavirus?
Oh, Rich, yeah, I was with the president last week at the rally out at Cecil Field. I can tell everyone that there is a very rigorous testing regimen around the president. Everyone who's going to be in contact is tested beforehand, and he even tells you, keep your distance. He keeps the distance himself regardless. So that's one piece that's in place. I'm looking for a statement of reassurance, I think, today for the country, for markets, for our allies around the world, but also one to our adversaries that now is not the time to try to mess with the U.S., particularly for rogue states like Iran, North Korea. And I think the president, I've never been around someone with such energy and strength. I think he will very likely, he does not have comorbidities. He will very likely get through this, I think, relatively quickly. And continue to lead the country, in isolation for the next few days. Given how recently you had contact with him, do you feel the urge to get a test just to kind of reassure yourself? I don't. I feel fine. I'll likely go get one today just for reassurance for everyone that I represent. But that was a week ago. I was supposed to see him in the Florida rally today. That's now been postponed down in Sanford, Florida. But we have to continue to govern. We have to continue to lead and just take precautions as we do so. As we look at the big picture, and you mentioned he was supposed to be in Florida today and then Wisconsin over the weekend. Tomorrow, we're a month out from the election. How might this scramble the election campaign? What are you going to look to Joe Biden to do in terms of reacting to this and any decisions that he may make? Well, I think the key piece is getting through this before the next debate. Getting a few negative tests under the president's belt over the next 10 days before the October 15 debate. I think it's going to, more broadly, it's going to put Corona, back on the forefront of the campaign right now. The Supreme Court pick and other issues, the unrest and others were coming back to the forefront. But look, at the end of the day, Vice President Biden's been campaigning from his basement, all of this year. I think the president has to both govern and make his case to the American people from isolation for the next week or so until he gets those negative tests, and then he'll be back out on the trail. As you mentioned, we're speaking with Representative Michael Waltz. The president does not have any comorbidities. He is, however, at 74, putting him at a higher risk of serious complications. What might be happening behind the scenes in the White House in terms of preparations over the coming days, depending on how this looks? What sort of things are happening and conversations are going on? Well, we have to keep in mind, at least in Florida statistics, the age range of under 75, 95% of those who contract the virus, 95% are fine. So we just have to keep in mind statistically, I think the president will be just fine and has no comorbidities. But I think, his physicians are looking through, do they administer remdesivir? They're watching his symptoms very closely. Do they look at plasma and other types of treatments that we've learned so much about over the course of this thing, and just continue to watch if there are some broader national security implications. Obviously the number one job is commander in chief of our armed forces, commander over our nuclear forces. But at the end of the day, our Constitution is strong. We have the 25th Amendment in place, which allows the president to step aside if he does get very ill for any reason, and the vice president has already made it clear that he's fine. So I think from a constitutional leadership perspective, we have a very robust system. But at the end of the day, I could tell you, I just want to say again, I have never been around someone of any age with the energy and the strength that the president has. I mean, it's truly incredible. And I'm confident he'll come through this just fine. Before this story broke and before we let you get, Congressman Michael Waltz, the House approved a slimmed-down coronavirus relief plan. All Republicans voted against it. What gave you the most heartache in this $2.2 trillion package? A couple of things. Number one, this was no different than the previous act that Speaker Pelosi put through that had all kinds of things completely unrelated to the coronavirus. From illegal immigration to voting reforms and on down the list of kind of their progressive priorities. This is not the time to push some separate agenda. This is the time to get things through, like an additional bite at the apple for PPP for those small businesses that need it, making reforms to the federal unemployment insurance that I think is that's making it harder for businesses to pull people off those unemployment rolls when you're making just as much money for not working, liability reforms. Those are things that we've all tried to push separately that don't get entangled with the other more controversial items. But unfortunately, the speaker is taking an all or nothing approach, her way or the highway. And by the way, even though they pulled it down from $3.5 trillion to $2.5 trillion, that is still a massive amount of our grandchildren's money, a massive amount of debt. And we still have, Rich, hundreds of billions of dollars that are unspent from the previous package that we've been trying to get reallocated to places where they're needed. So I just think this is really unfortunate and bad for the country.